How's it going, everyone, and welcome back to another video on the channel. Today I'm going to be talking about how I read structure and how I identify trends, because it is vital in trading. I always say that entries don't matter as much as direction, because it doesn't matter how good the entry is. If the direction is wrong, you will lose the trade. So I'm going to be going through some examples today on the charts, showing you exactly how I look at structure, how I identify trends, and what I find works for me. And if you guys would like to know how I properly do it and how I really trade, then there is a link to my Telegram. Feel free to check that out if you want. But hopefully you still will be able to pick up a lot of stuff. I will be dropping some gems in today's video. So make sure you watch the end. Thank you for watching and enjoy the video. Okay, so looking at the chart, how do I identify trends, structure, and things like that? Well, as you know, I like to keep my strategy as simple as possible. Now, I'm not going to tell you, as I said, the full way of doing it, because that is in my Telegram. And if you want to learn how I properly trade and how I really analyze the markets, there'll be a link in the description. So feel free to check that out if you want. But I'm going to give you today some tips, some advice as to how I would identify trends, how I would identify structure, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you can get sniper entries. And I say this a lot. It matters to get on the right side of the market. It matters to follow the trend and just make sure you're never counter trend trading or just trying to catch the reversals all the time. So let me show you an example of current price and what the market is doing right now. So as you can see, we're in an uptrend, quite a visible uptrend. You know, you don't need to be a amazing trader to know that we are moving to the upside. Now, how would you look at this? How would you trade this? Well, you have to remember that everyone has different criteria to identifying a break. Mine might not be the same as yours, and vice versa. It doesn't mean that either of our methods are wrong. It just means our methods are slightly different, and we may have found that through different types of backtesting, strategies, timeframes, etc. So if yours doesn't align with this, feel free to try this version out. But there's no pressure to, because it is just my version of doing it, and it doesn't mean that it will necessarily work for you. Obviously, we printed this high up here, so this is the highest point of the uptrend that we've been looking at, and that was kind of created from this low here, and then we came back down, we printed this low here. So there's certain things we can look at here to determine what we think structure will do. And we have to be careful, because if we're looking at potential sells in an uptrend, it can be quite risky. So there's certain things I would want to look for before really choosing to sell in an uptrend. I'd need like clear confirmation. So the first thing we had was this low here, right? This low was broken through. So we did break this low. Now, as I said, you can identify breaks using the wicks, the bodies, whatever it is works for you. I'm not going to tell you how I do it, but as you can see, we broke through and we created a new low here. Now, this new low pushed up and actually failed to break this high. Now, this high is the important high here, because this was the high that created the push below this area. So hopefully this is making sense, in the sense that high made a low, this low was broken by this push down, and this high was failed to be closed above underneath the low, if that makes sense. If it doesn't, you might have to rewatch this a few times. But yeah, now price was pushed down and we've broken this low, which made the high. So far, it's a really good indication that we may want to start selling. And I actually said this yesterday in a stream of mine. On top of that, we're now focusing on this low here, because price is coming to it. Now, if we break this low, this is kind of like my confirmation to sell, because this is the sort of major low that caused the push up to make the high, and the higher high, and that's important. If we break that low, obviously there's a sign that sells may be coming into action, but we haven't quite broken it just yet. The other reason why I'm not super confident on this sort of push up here is because this was actually the NFP candle, and news candles don't contribute to structure as much as you'd think. you know, it's not entirely technical based. Obviously, it's a lot of it is economic and fundamental. So I don't normally like to use news candles as breaks of highs or lows, or as new highs or new lows, because they're not always as reliable as standard technical structure. But that's just an example on current market of what I would be looking for when identifying a trend. Now, if we go back in time, you know, when it's trending, it is really easy to spot because, for example, here, where is it? Here. So again, so we have this low here that pushed up, that made the ultimate high. Price came down. We failed to break the low. We came up. We still failed to break the low. And then we actually pushed up and broke the high that made the new low that broke this low. So that's our first sign. And then you see price kind of does nothing. And then we have a huge push up that actually closes above our major high, continuing our buy. So when it's trending, it's quite clear to see, as long as you don't get caught up in the sort of more fractal structure and continue to look at the overall structure, it will help a lot. And then if I can find a sell example here, well, actually this is a reversal buy that I caught here that I can show you again how I used structure. So as you can see here, this was the high that pushed down, made the low. Then a price actually pushed up and broke this high that made the low. This is why this high is important. The only highs and lows I care about are the ones that broke previous highs or lows. I don't care about, you know, this tiny high here or this, you know, tiny high here. I don't care about that sort of stuff really. I care more about, as I said, breaking the highs or lows that broke structure. And as I said, this high, because it pushed down, it pulled up and then pushed down. This high is the important one because it then got ran through, and then we actually came down and failed to break this low. So now if you look at what's starting to happen, it's now starting to form bullish structure. So I did actually get in this buy, and as you can see, we never actually broke this low, and then we finally broke above and retested into this area for the buys. So as you can see, you know, it's something you need to backtest. It's something you need to practice, because hindsight, it will be really easy to see this. But if you can't see this live in live markets, you're not going to do, you're not going to be as effective at doing it. So again, if I can find another sell to show you here, again, great example here is literally just a case of this was the low that pushed up to make the high above this high. And as you see, we pushed straight through it. Now, because this was such a clean break, I had to get in, and we did, and it was a lovely drop to a TP. But as you can see, structure is fairly easy to read as long as you focus on certain things like you know, highs and lows that made previous highs and lows being broken. If you look at how price acts around an area, if you always try and keep the image of a buy and a sell trend in your head, you'll be able to spot them fairly easy, because now I can already see, you know, we're looking like we're starting to push down. Now, this isn't a signal. I'm not saying buy or sell GU, but it's just a good indication, so to speak. But the rest of it, you need to backtest. You need to find your rules for what a break is, what counts as a break, what area are you waiting for things to break. That I'm going to leave up to you. As I said, if you want to know more in depth, there'll be a link to my Telegram. But hopefully that sort of helps how I read structure a bit and makes it a bit easier for you to see. Because as I say, getting the structure and trend right is so important. I hope everyone enjoyed the video today. Hopefully you found it useful. Thank you guys so much for watching and the support over the past, you know, videos. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.